word, like a pre-corona or a post-corona, just added during corona as well. And whoever spoke before, they talked a lot about, the pre-corona challenges, just the general unreadiness. Nobody was really, there was very limited collaboration. uh, Logistics and delivery in the consumer space is definitely something that has put a constraint in this lockdown period. And people are also averse to generally the risk of cash on delivery right now. So all of these alternatives should have just been there. We had a long time to prepare for. We didn't anticipate this crisis, but there was a long time that these things should have been there, as they have been in the other markets. But during Corona, I think it's generally the essential response that all the banks and the fintechs, the entire digital payment community needs to take, and it's just making sure that the essential streams are running. And Nadeem Saab talked about logistics, but even on the other side, whether it is digital ordering or it is digital payments, all of that is still very paper based. And One of the conversations that we've been pushing for a very long time is that there are at least 15 essential supply chains in Pakistan, each supply chain vertical being represented by 5 or 6 revenue leaders. So that's about almost 60, 70 organizations that are responsible to make sure that you get the things that you need at your homes. And any decent manufacturer, when it wants to cover Pakistan, requires about 400 to 600 distributors. And Each distributor represents at the minimum 200 to 300 retailers, could go as high as almost 10,000 retailers that are being covered by one distributor. So if you look at that, there's a network effect of about 15,000 distributors, 1.5 to 2 million by some calculations, retailers. That's a massive flow of liquidity in two incremental steps: retailer to distributor, distributor to manufacturer. And that's just the area where closed loop fiefdoms still exist, and it's their own inability to digitize these processes that has resulted in the fact that there are a lot of distributors who don't want to uh, continue working in an environment where they're feeling unsafe, walking into a branch or handling cash or meeting someone to make that delivery. So that is a collective failing, I think. During this crisis, it should have been there, was a no-brainer. uh, and other organizations, other banks in other countries have already done something similar. So it wasn't something that we had to be too innovative about it. This is an organized sector. This is not about cultural issues. It's not about adoption, that people are afraid of taxation and something like that. This is an organized sector. The companies that I'm talking about pay their taxes. So that should have been the wake-up call for us. So post-corona, I think it's obviously digital is the way forward. That's what we're trying to look at. uh, Organizations that have been too slow to wake up and see the writing on the wall should see it very clearly now. They should try to come up with lean structures in their digital initiatives, so that they don't take too much time in trying to take these digital means. And some of them, we have some very good examples in Pakistan of even banks who've been so progressive in the way they've opened up their arms to the market, in the way they've been not too insecure about their deposits. So all of these examples are right in front of us within this country. Uh, Omer talked about the regulator taking steps that we should have taken. I think going forward, we should see some sort of changes in the steps that they've seen. Maybe they take more progressive steps, and maybe they retract some of these steps, given that they still have to strike a balance with FATF, which pre-corona was our biggest crisis. So that's not going away. It's going to come back to us. I think only right now everyone is just going to relax a bit about FATF, and we're going to let things roll. So we should be prepared for these things. But the call to action is more about what the industry should have been doing pre-corona, and what the industry should be doing once this crisis fades away. Uh, so yes, digital is definitely going to take up a lot of conversations, and we could also see an influx of capital coming into these kind of initiatives. This is a very serious situation, but the whole conversation right now, and the theme was, how do we respond to it now, and how do we respond to it? How do we benefit from it in the future? So that's definitely something. So essential supply chains is definitely an area that needs to be looked at. Government citizen interaction in terms of payments or anything else. There will definitely be a rationalization of transactional tariff. That's going to definitely happen once this goes away. Uh, this is a wake-up call for easy onboarding. So deeper use cases like Kareem talked about, that they need to look at other use cases that have not been addressed because everyone was in the rush of addressing the consumer problems. Uh, so all of these things are something that we need to look at and that we need to talk about. I think the only thing from a consumer perspective, and again, I don't represent consumer payments because that's not what we focused on at Hubble. But as a citizen, I can tell you that all the discounting and the loyalty programs were focused on, where can I get my a cheaper cheesecake, uh, and that kind of discounting in this kind of environment isn't really relevant for us. So medicine and essential supply chain discounting, if there is still a way of, sort of pushing discounts on the consumer side, that should have been a focus from day one. And in this crisis, that's more relevant from a social point of view as well, that these discounts should have been for social benefits rather than luxury items, which is where most of the people focused. So that's pretty much my 2 cents that I wanted to add. If anyone has any questions, you can start with that.